Renault's CEO has slammed Tesla, saying that they have destroyed resale values and destroyed the experience of customers buying EVs. In other words, Renault believes Tesla are bad for EVs. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at what Renault is actually doing in reality versus what Tesla is doing in reality. Compare the two and see whether or not the CEO of Renault is correct. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel on the Electric Viking. Great to see you. My name's Sam Evans. Thank you for tuning in. You know what? After I heard some of these comments from Renault CEO, I thought, does he have a point here? Is Renault CEO right? Could he have discovered something that I didn't realize? Is Tesla, in fact, killing electric car value? Well, my first thoughts were this. Here in Australia, don't know about your country, but here in Australia, the value and the resale value of Renault vehicles is worse than any other car brand you can buy. I mean, not always, or the worst residual values of any car brand. So I was sort of thinking to myself, this is some shaky foundations to be coming from. Now, Renault CEO Luca De Meo said that Tesla's pricing strategy damages customer confidence in electric cars, in particular in the value of electric cars. Tesla, of course, changes the prices of its cars routinely. And some people get angry about this. Some people think it's great. Personally, I think Tesla is bringing the cost of EVs down for everyone, putting downwards price pressure on other auto manufacturers. Now, a lot of people say things like this, the only companies that are making cheap EVs are the Chinese, not Tesla. And then they bring up some small hatchbacks and show some small cars, which are all much smaller than Tesla's cars. Now, I think that's, not a real fair thing to say. You've got to compare like for like. Like, for example, if you're saying, you can buy this small Chinese electric car, and then you compare it to the price of a Tesla Model Y, which is, 40% bigger. It's not really a fair comparison. I think maybe Renault is doing something similar. Now, Renault CEO said, I hope that Tesla continues to reduce their prices to zero. Obviously, being a bit of a smart ass here, to be fair. But we will continue to protect the value of our electric vehicles. This is destroying value for the customer, for sure, when you do this, said De Meo. Now, Renault CEO's criticism of Elon Musk's Tesla has come when Renault was saying that they are doing incredibly well. They're the third biggest seller of EVs in Europe. While it is true that Renault sold 37,000 Renault Zoe vehicles in Europe last year and 33,000 of the new Megane E-Tech, however, neither of those vehicles made the top 10 in electric car sales in Europe. In fact, Renault doesn't have a top 10 bestseller in the top 40 best-selling electric cars in the world. The top 40 models I'm talking about here. Although they do technically own the Dacia brand, which is a Romanian company, they had 48,948 sales of the Dacia Spring. But if we actually drill down a bit deeper here and look at how Renault as a company is going, well, they actually were outsold by Tesla in 2022. No one even noticed this happen, but Renault sold less than 1.1 million cars worldwide. Tesla sold more than 1.3 million. In other words, Tesla sells more electric cars than Renault sells gasoline-powered cars. In 2022, Renault's sales worldwide were down by 6% versus the previous year, and their electric car sales didn't do much better. Here's a list of the top 20 best-selling plug-in and electric car companies in the world: BYD, Tesla, SAIC, GM Wuling, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, GAC, SAIC, Chang'an, Kia, Geely, Hyundai, Dongfeng, Volvo, Audi, Horizon, Ford, Li Auto, and Peugeot. And guess what? None of them were Renault. Renault didn't place in the top 20 best-selling electric car manufacturers or plug-in hybrid manufacturers. Renault, whether they want to believe it or not, is a dying company. And these are the words of a CEO who is desperate. Desperate to do anything Renault has engaged in an anti-Tesla smear campaign over the past 12 months. They've made other advertisements similar to this, trying to criticize Tesla, saying that they've made electric trucks and Tesla hasn't. The Semi isn't real. Renault have had an electric truck now available for ages, which is a completely non-comparable vehicle that only has about 180 kilometers of range. But anyway, the key point is here, Renault's CEO, in my opinion, seems desperate. Realistically, reducing the prices of electric cars is what we all need. And whether or not you want to spin this as a negative because you're falling behind and not making many electric cars, not taking electrification even remotely seriously, well, that's something that they can do. But I personally think that it's not a positive for them. Now, Renault is saying that the company is financially healthy. Is that actually true? Well, it is true that they have 20 billion euros in cash. But it's also true that they have more than 60 billion euros in debt. And for a company who sells a very small percentage of electric cars, in fact, very small number of electric cars and a declining number of cars overall, that's a lot of debt to have. That's a pretty terrible position to be in. Realistically, Renault is a company that is in trouble. Renault has liabilities of 67.5 billion euros due within the next 12 months and liabilities of 15.5 billion euros after that. It has liabilities totaling $61.4 billion, more than its cash and near-term receivables combined. Considering the majority of its assets are basically just dead weight that produce internal combustion engine vehicles and things they'll just have to write off, meaning a lot of its debt is useless and worth absolutely nothing. It's a deficiency that will weigh very heavily on the company. This is as if, imagine a child struggling under the weight of an enormous backpack full of bricks and pretending like everything's okay, criticizing other companies who are not struggling, who are doing really well, who are giving the market the product that it wants. If Renault's creditors were to demand repayment, recapitalization would be its only answer, and that would be a big problem. Renault's debt to EBITDA, or EBITDA, of 8.4 shows a heavy debt load. And if the company's sales of Renault branded cars continue to decline, they will definitely struggle to repay that debt load. However, if the market transfers to EVs at the rate it currently is, and Renault continues to be unable to keep up with that transformation, this is a company that could be bankrupt by 2030, even earlier potentially. It will need a huge bailout from the government in France. The question is, will the government in France be willing to do that? The fact that Tesla can sell its cars and make a profit for, well, not much more than, say, a Renault Zoe. I mean, look at the price of the Tesla Model 3. In many countries, the Model 3 is only marginally more expensive than a Renault Zoe, yet it's almost twice the size with almost twice the range, and yet Tesla still makes a profit on those cars. Renault, on the other hand, are in a very dangerous position as a car company. If you are invested in this company, my suggestion is cut your losses immediately. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.